to mute their audio as well as video. In this session, we are resuming the hands-on session on embedded system for robotic applications. Now I welcome our resource person, our colleague, Mr. Ramesh Sia, Head of Vidya Center for Robotic Research and Consultancy, for resuming the hands-on session. Hello. Ramesh sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Now over to you, sir.
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So whether my slide is visible to you, I shared the screen.
No, sir. We can see the only recording is seen here.
Just a black screen, sir. Yeah, now it's visible, sir.
Okay. Yes. Hello. You are not audible, sir. Hello, Ramesh sir.
Okay, just me. Just try.
Okay.
Clear, sir. Join from.
Hello, sir.
Okay, this is. So please make that show the demonstration of the working of your robot. So there are two logins within logins into co-host.
Okay, okay.
So good afternoon to.
Okay.
Sir, both have been made into co-hosts. Ramesh, sir, are you talking?
Good afternoon all. Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, Ramesh sir. Hello. Sir, now you are not audible.
How?
And dear participants, we shall resolve this as quickly as possible. And thank you for your patience.
Okay, good afternoon to all. Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there was a small issue in the internet, so that was the reason I was not able to follow. Okay. So once again, good afternoon to all the participants. So in the previous class or session on yesterday, we have discussed how to apply the system to or the programming into developing some embedded programs for robotic applications or in general an embedded application. So we have discussed, we started our discussion with introduction to embedded programming, and the remaining 3 topics which are planned during this FTP session is motor interfacing, speed and direction control of robot, and analog sensor interfacing. So in yesterday's class, we have learned how to blink an LED at a delay of 1 second. But that 1 second is not a perfect answer, because sometimes we may be purchasing a particular microcontroller as a bare piece. We will be just having that IC and all the associated circuitries like the reset circuitry, clock circuitry, etc. can be made by ourselves. Or else, as we discussed yesterday, different countries are manufacturing the Arduino boards, and based on the availability of the cheapest oscillator, for every microcontroller, we have a certain range of oscillating frequencies at which the microcontroller will be is able to work.
Sir, your voice is breaking.
And
Hello, Ramesh sir.
Excuse me, sir. Your voice is breaking. So there's a clarity issue. Can you please check that?
the microcontroller.
Srikant sir, there is one more ID which is not in the co-host mode. So can you please give that right to that ID also, Ramesh sir itself.
Okay. Is it okay now, sir? Hello, sir. Sir, that ID has been made a co-host. Ramesh sir, are you speaking? Your mic is on mute.
participants. We are trying to solve the problem as soon as possible. Thank you for your patience.
So good afternoon all. Am I audible right now?
Yes, yes, you are.
Okay, fine. So sorry, there was a small issue in the network connectivity. So that was a delay. So whether the slide is visible?
Yes.
Okay. So yesterday we have discussed about how to develop a small embedded program where we can blink an LED at a delay of 1 second. So with respect to the real-time application, when we go for purchasing or when we go for a standalone system where you're blinking an LED or you're operating some robots, we may not be always able to realize that standalone system with the exact components with which we have tested the development. Okay, so for example, if you go for the Arduino board itself, in the Arduino Uno board which you are getting from the market, we normally observe a crystal oscillator of 16 megahertz. While when we go for the ADMega 2560, the mega version, in that case, you can see that the crystal which they are using is 14.756 megahertz. Okay, so there is a difference between this crystal oscillator, and with respect to this variation, the operation of the or the execution of the task also varies. Okay, because all the time, if I provide a delay of 1 second, this 1 second delay is being generated by executing a sequence of steps, and this execution of the program statements depends upon the oscillator frequency which we are applying to the microcontroller. Okay, so today our discussions will be based on that, how to generate exact delay for our applications. So for that, we are going to use the timer module, the peripheral known as timer, which is available in our microcontrollers. And followed by this, we'll be having some exercises. And finally, we'll be concluding today's session by discussing about the basic movements of the robot.
Hello, sir. Are you still speaking?
So the mic has gone to mute. Okay, now it is clear.
Yeah, it was mute.
Is it clear right now?
Yeah, sure, sir. It's not visible.
Okay,
It's not shared.
okay, I think screen now it may be visible. I share the slides. Cut down.
No, sir. Screen is still not visible.
Just 1 minute.
Okay, sir.
I hope now it is visible.
Yeah, now it's started.
Okay, so just 1 minute. Huh. Okay, sorry. So today there is some network issues basically. So today our discussions will be limited to timer programming, where we'll be discussing how to write sequence of statements so that you can generate the exact delays based upon the real-time hardware which you're going to use. Okay. And after that, since we are already late by half an hour due to the technical issues, if time permits, we will be having discussions on this basic movements of robot also. Okay. So basically the timer module, which is available in most of the microcontrollers, there will be a difference in the number of timer modules, but in general, most of the timers, most of the microcontrollers will be having at least one timer module in them. Okay. So they can be used for various applications. So in AVR microcontrollers, we can specifically say that the timer module can be used for generating the required delay. Okay, so we need to generate some delay for execution of some task. Then the second application of the timer module is to generate the pulse width modulated signals, PWM waveforms. And in the context of our application, we are going to use this PWM in our robotic applications. Okay, so in robotic applications, we can use this PWM signals for controlling the velocity of DC motors, which is commonly used in wheeled robots, okay, and which enables the rotation of the wheels. And the other one is a position control of the servo motors, where we make use of these servo motors in some pick and place applications, etc. Okay, in some specific application where we need to specifically control the position of movement of that particular mechanical structure. Okay. So here we are discussing only on these two actuators, and their applications are more or less limited to the academic projects. Okay, when we go for the industrial projects, there we will be more mostly using the stepper motors and the AC servo motors rather than using the DC motors. These are the two types, that is the AC servo motors and the stepper motors are the most commonly used one. Okay. Now going ahead, if you look to the basic timer module in any microcontroller, they can either serve as function of a timer, or they can act as a counter, and our discussions will be limited into timer applications. So we will be having a gate to which you can have two different sources. One is from your oscillator, from your crystal oscillator, and the other one can be from your external source. Okay. So based on any of these two signals, they will be gate through this, and it will be reaching the counter register, where this register increments from the 0 value or from a predefined value at every low to high transition. Okay. In AVR microcontrollers, the increment of this register or the change in the current status occurs for every low to high tick of the crystal of the clock signal. Okay, and the clock signal can be either from the oscillator or from the external source, as I told. So here our limitations will be how the timer is working with respect to the oscillator frequency. Okay. And once this counter register, so as we discussed yesterday, for every microcontroller, we have the register size. So if it is an 8-bit register, the size will be 2 raised to n minus 1. Okay, that is in general. For an n-bit register, the maximum value that can be stored in the register is 2 raised to n minus 1. So if it is 8, then 2 raised to 8 minus 1, 255 is the maximum value. Okay. So once that value has been reached, in the next clock pulse, what happens is that the register will be resetted to 0. So that resetting from the maximum value of the register to the initial 0 value, okay, or to the lowest value, that is 0, is indicated, or is going to indicate the controller that the required timing interval has been achieved. So that will be indicated to the controller by setting a particular flag or a bit. Okay, so that is the general block diagram. And if we move further, in AVR microcontrollers, we have generally two types of timer modules. One is the timer module that has 8-bit capacity, that is the counting can be from 0 to 2 raised to n minus 1, that is 2 raised to 8 minus 1, 255. The other one is a 16-bit timer. So as we discussed yesterday, today our discussions will be basically on ADMEGA 3 to 8, but I will be demonstrating the working of the experiments using a robot which has ADMEGA 2560. So the basic difference you can see here, both of them has two 8-bit timers. They are designated as T0 and T0 T2. And for ADMEGA 328, we have only one 16-bit timer. That is, the counting can be from 0 to 2 raised to 16 minus 1. That is 65,535. Okay. If you go for ADMEGA 2560, we have 4 16-bit timers. Okay. So here you can see there is a common number, that is T1. So we will be doing we will be limiting our discussions to the 16-bit timer. Okay. So we will be developing the codes by focusing on the single 16-bit timer available on ADMEGA 328, and we will be using that same code for ADMEGA 2560. That is a robot which I have, and I'll be burning that code onto that, and you can see the output. Okay. So as we discussed the general purpose IO programming, here also with respect to the timer module, we do have several registers, and these registers needs to be first of all understood. Okay, yeah, best understanding of these registers helps us to optimize the configuration of the timer modules for our application. Okay, so let us see what are the registers. So we have TCCR, that is a control register, timer counter control register. this N stands for, if it is a 8-bit timer 0, N will be 0. If it is a 16-bit timer, then it will be 1. That is T1 is a designation. If it is 8-bit timer 2, T2, then N will be 2. Okay. So based upon the timer module which I'm using, I can give the number for this N. Okay. Then TCCR is a timer counter control register. TIMSK is a timer interrupt mask register. Okay. Then TIFRN is a timer interrupt flag register. Then TCNT is a timer counter register. So this is equivalent to the counter register which we have seen in the previous slide. So we have seen that for every tick of the clock pulse, the count value will be incrementing from 0 or from a predefined value. Okay, so that counter register is designated as TCNT in our AVR microcontroller. Okay, then this OCR is the output capture register. So this OCR is a register which is commonly used for PWM generation. Okay, we can also use it in generating the delay, but mostly we will be using for PWM. So today we will be looking into both the applications. Okay, because tomorrow we need to explore the PWM possibilities. Okay, so this value will be if there is OCR, then the value in TCNT and OCR is compared, and when they are meeting the condition, correspondingly you will be indicated by setting this particular flag, that is OCFN flag. Okay, and that particular value, once the comparison is okay, we have studied in our analog electronics, for every comparator there will be two stages, a positive stage, that is a logic high stage, and a logic low stage. Okay, so based on this configuration, either you will be getting a high value at this OCN or you will be getting a low value. So here we will be using that particular change in the stage stage of the output for generating the PWM. Okay, and the corresponding flag corresponding to this comparison of TCNT and OCR is OCF. And if you are not using this OCR, when the overflow from the maximum of the counter register to 0 happens, we should be indicated, the controller should be indicated, that is indicated by this TOV flag, that is timer overflow flag. Okay, so based upon the module number, if I'm using timer 0, then TOV 0 will be there. If I'm using the module 1, then I can have TOV 1. Okay, so let's go into detail. So timer counter register, by default, all the registers of AVR microcontrollers are 8-bit registers. Okay, since we are going to deal with timer 1, that is a 16-bit register, we need to store some, or the counting should be from 0 to 65,535, that is a 16-bit representation. So to store the 16 bits, we need two registers. Okay, so corresponding to timer 1, the two counter registers are designated as TCNT1L and TCNT1H. So TCNT1L stores the lower 8 bits of the 16-bit count value, and TCNT1H stores the upper 8 bits of the count value. Okay, 16-bit count value. So here you can see this is a bit number, that is bit number 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. And these two registers are located in the memory location of our AVR microcontroller, and that memory address is defined as 0x85 and 0x84. Okay, and the status of this register is defined as read or write, and initial value 0. Okay, so this is a clip that are taken from the AVR data sheet. Okay, so this can be used when we convey this information to the students. Okay, when they do their projects, they should know what type of registers are they using, whether it is a read or write register, or a read only register, or a write only register, etc. So all these informations have been covered here. Okay, so this is a register which increments, this keeps on incrementing on each tick of the clock signal or the oscillator in general, which is reaching to the timer module. Then we have the timer counter control register, that is TCCRN. So corresponding to a single timer module, in most of the AVR microcontrollers, we have two set of TCCR registers, that is TCCRNA and TCCRNB. Okay, so here you can see there is TCCR1A because we are discussing about timer 1. Okay, so TCCR1A and TCCR1B. So this set of two 8-bit registers is going to configure the entire operation of your timer module. Okay, how it is going to give some output. Okay, then what is the clock frequency which the timer module is going to accept so that the counter will be incremented. Okay, all those things. And similarly, when we go for generating PWM, how the PWM should be generated. As we have seen in the previous slide, in case of PWM, you will be using TCNT as well as OCR. So when they are being passed to the comparator, during each stage, when the OCR value is greater than the TCNT, what should be the output, whether it should be low or it should be high, etc. All those things will be configured by using these two set of registers. Okay, so we will be looking into that also. So here you can see the TCCR R1A has 8 bits, and out of which the upper 4 bits are known as the COM or the combination bits, okay, comparator output bits, and these two are the waveform generation mode bits. Okay, so let's look into the detail. Okay, so this is known as the comparator output mode. So this says, as we are seen in the general block diagram, there is a comparator to which the value of the timer counter register is been applied. Okay, so in normal operations, we need not consider the comparator output. So we can configure the values as 0, 0. And what does this COM1, A0 and A1 means? That is, the same timer module can be used for generating PWM waveform. Okay, so if you look into a general Arduino Uno board, there are 6 digital pins available on the board which can be used for the generation of PWM. Okay, so that we'll be looking shortly. I don't know how many of you are clear on that particular topic of the Arduino layout. Okay, so let me open the Tinkercad. Let it open. Okay, let us wait for that. So by changing this, so if I'm giving 0, 0 as a value, I'm not bothered about the output of the comparator. But if I'm making to 0, 1, you can see that for each match in the inputs of the comparator, the output of that particular comparator is going to toggle. Okay, so here the Tinkercad has been opened, so I can show you. Okay. So this is the layout of the Arduino Uno board. So here you can see this is a set of digital lines. Okay, so this is just an example. So here you can see with respect to D3, there is a small tilde symbol. Similarly for 5, 6, 9, 10, and 11, there are the tilde symbols. Okay, so these are the digital pins from which you can receive the PWM outputs. Okay, so how is the 6 PWM obtained? For each of the timer modules in AVR microcontroller, we are able to generate 2 set of PWM signals. So we have a total of 3 timer modules in our AVR microcontroller. So 3 into 2, 6 PWM. Okay, so that is each of the timer module is capable to generate a set of 2 PWM signals. Okay, so that is why for each of the timer module registers, timer control registers, we have the comparator output selection for 2 channels. Okay, so either we can have a toggling format, or if I'm using 1, 0, I can have the clear. Once the comparator inputs are matching, you can go to low state from a initial high logic, and if it is 1, 1, initially it will be 0, and whenever a match occurs, it will be going to a high logic. We will be discussing more on this when we go for the PWM. Okay, so now today in our discussion is limited to timer, so we need not go to the need not consider the output of the comparator. So we will be assigning 0, 0 to the comparator output pin bits. Okay, then so this is in the PWM mode. Then we have another pins, that is WGM, that is waveform generation mode bits. Okay, so here you can see there are total of 4 waveform generation mode bits. What type of waveform should be generated? Okay, so for timer operations, we need not consider the values of these bits. It can be kept as 0. So we will be concentrating on the normal mode of operation here. Okay, either you can go for the normal or you can go for the CTC mode, that is the comparator top mode. Okay, so in that case, it depends upon the comparator value. So our discussions are limited to here. So we will be assigning the value for all these waveform generation bits as 0. Okay, when we go for PWM, we can choose any of these, which we'll be discussing more in detail in the tomorrow's class. Okay. Then the bits which you have seen in PCCRN is the CS102 CS12 bit, that is clock selection. So if I'm making all the values as 0, no clock source will be reaching the timer module. That is, you can disable the timer or you can stop the timer. Okay, but if I'm using several combinations, I can divide the clock. So if I'm using the combination 001, then there is no scaling. Whatever be the oscillator frequency, if I'm using a 14 megahertz crystal, the entire 14 megahertz crystal frequency, that signal with 14 megahertz will be reaching the input of the timer module. Okay, if I'm using the prescaler of 8, then what happens is that this 14 megahertz crystal will be divided by 8, and that reduced frequency will be reaching the timer module. Okay, so based upon our demand for the delay, okay, what is the amount of delay that I need to generate, I can select the prescaler from this by configuring these bits of the timer counter control register. Okay, so that will be more clear when we move on to that particular section. Okay, so the timer counter, that's what we discussed. So there are two set of registers, as we told, TCCR1A and TCCR1B. So we told that this is a comparator output which we need not care for the time being. So all these are 0. Again, the next one is WGM, that is waveform generation mode. We have 4 bits, that is 11, 10, 13, and 12. All the 4 can be again made 0 for the current time. So again, these bits are also 0. This is for the input capture, that is when the timer is going to operate based on a pulse signal which is coming from the external world. Okay, so here we are not concerned about that, we are focusing on the oscillator frequency, so we can make these 2 bits also equal to 0. Then the only configuration is on this lower 3 bits of TCCR1B, whether we need to apply some prescaling value or we need to go ahead with the non-prescale value. Okay, so that will be explained, we'll be looking in the examples. Okay. Then the register of our concern is PIMSK, that is interrupt mask register. So this is for enabling the interrupts. Okay, so if there is a state change in the timer overflow flag, then an interrupt should be generated. So for that I need to make this bit equal to 1. If there is an interrupt generated from the comparator output, okay, since there are 2 channels for each of the timer, there are 2 comparators. So from comparator A and comparator B, similarly when the timer is operating based on the external clock source, then also we can generate a timer. Okay, so these bits are used for if I'm making 1 at each of these bit position, then the interrupt will be generated. So here we are not looking onto the interrupt section, so we are not going to use this register here in our example programs. Okay, but for each overflow we need to monitor. Okay, so for monitoring that overflow either from the comparator output or from the timer counter, we can use this timer interrupt flag register. So TOV1 is the flag which sets to 1. Okay, that will be equal to 1 when the overflow from the maximum value to 0 occurs. Okay, then this OCF1A and OCFB is the flag that gets set equal to 1 when the value of the counter register, that is TCNT, and the value that you are giving to the output comparator register, OCR register, are equal. That is when there are 2 inputs for the comparator and both the inputs of the comparator reaches to be the same, when that is the value in the timer counter as well as the value in the output capture register are matched, then a flag will be set, and that is defined by OCF1A. Okay, so by default the value will be 0. So these values will be set as 1 when there is an overflow. And we need to, if I'm going for the interrupt mode, as soon as the interrupt service routine is executed, this value will be automatically cleared. But if you're not going for the interrupt mode, we need to manually clear these bits. Okay, so in order to manually clear these bits, you need to write a value 1 to this particular location. Okay, so if I need to make TOV1 equal to 0, this bit position equal to 0, I need to write 1 to this particular position. Okay, that is a procedure that which I have to follow. Then this is a comparator, output comparator register, which act as one of the input of the comparator. Okay, so since we are dealing with a 16-bit comparator, a 16-bit timer, the timer counter can count a value which can be represented with 16-bit. So the second operand of the comparator should be able to store that much number of bits, that is 16-bit. So we have, for the first PWM channel, we have a 16-bit register that is defined by OCR 1AH and 1AL, that is 8 plus 8 for 16 bits. And for the second PWM channel, we have another 2 set of registers, that is OCR 1BL and OCR 1BH. Okay, so you can access this register in a single instruction by mentioning OCR 1A. Then you can pass a 16-bit value directly, or else in the program you can write OCR 1A equal to an 8-bit value, OCR 1BL equal to 8-bit, and OCR 1BH equal to 8-bit. Okay, that is, these registers are accessible either in a 16-bit format or a separate 8-bit format. Okay, so hope that you have got some overview about the registers. Okay, whether anyone is having any doubts in this? Compared to
Those who have
yesterday's,
doubts can unmute yourself and speak, or you can put your doubt or questions in the chat.
just have a response, because this topic is little bit different from yesterday's, because here we have a number of registers. Okay.
So question to participants, shall we move on to the exercises? You can put your answer in the chat.
I think we may move forward.
Yes, sir, you can move forward.
Okay. Okay. So let's discuss about how to calculate the delay, or how to find the exact values. Okay. So what we actually need is that from the basic diagram, we have seen that we have a comparator. Okay, we have a comparator to which you will be adding some TCNT value. Okay, that is a timer counter register value. So if you are not using, there are two different modes of operation. The first mode is where you're not using the comparator, and you'll be just focusing on the value that is stored in the TCNT. Okay, once its value goes from the maximum value to 0, okay, at this instant its timer overflow flag will be equal to 1. That is one procedure. The second procedure is that we will be having the value in the TCNT register, as well as you will be having some value in the output comparator register. Okay, so by default, if I look, what happens is that these two values are provided to the comparator, and this starts from 0 and it keeps on incrementing at each clock pulse. Suppose I have the value 3. Okay, so for the first clock pulse, the value will be transmitting from 0 to 1. Second clock pulse, it will be transmitting from 1 to 2. Third clock pulse, it will be transmitting from 2 to 3. So after 3 clock pulse, which reaches to the timer module, the value that is stored in TCNT and OCR will be equal. Okay, At that time, you will be getting an output in the OC flag, that is output comparator flag, OCFR. Okay, OCFR 1A, and you have OCFR 1B. There are two flags. Okay, so this is a basic operation. Now, when we look to the general working of the timer module, it's basically based on this TCNT. So let us take the first case where you are not going for the output comparator compare register loading. Okay, so here this TCNT will be either starting from 0, or it can start from an prefixed value X, and it can go to the maximum, then 2 again 0. Okay, at these two conditions, either from 0 to maximum, then from maximum to 0, it can generate a timer overflow flag, or it can start from a predefined non-zero value X, and it can go to the maximum value, and on the next immediate clock pulse it will be going to 0, then also it is going to 2F. So this topology, whether the timer counter register needs to start counting from 0 or from a non-zero X value, depends upon the delay requirement. Okay, that is what we are going to study right now. Okay, how to determine the value, starting value of TCNT. Okay, so let's start the first example. Calculate the maximum delay obtained from timer 1 if the microcontroller operates at an oscillator frequency of 1 megahertz. Okay, so this means you have the timer module which is been applied with a clock frequency of 1 megahertz. Okay, so for each of the low to high tick of the clock pulse, your timer counter will be incrementing. So we are now discussing with a 16-bit timer. So it can go from 0 to 65,535. That is 0 to 2 raised to n minus, not top, 2 raised to n minus 1. Okay, in general. Now, once this 65,535 is reached, on the next clock pulse, it will be again going to 0. Okay, so the total count that occurs in this timer counter register is total count is 2 raised to n minus 1 plus 1. Okay, that is 2 raised to n. In general, you can say 2 raised to n count, that is 65,536. So if I'm going for an 8-bit timer, the total counts at which, if you are starting the timer from 0, the total count will be 2 raised to 8, which is equal to 256. Okay, so what is the time that takes for this 256 or 65,536? That is what we need to determine. Okay, so once we start the timer, after how much time does the TOV or the timer overflow flag get set determines the maximum delay that we can generate by using that particular timer module. Okay, so for the 16-bit, the maximum total count after from 0, after which the TOV flag sets is 65,536, and for each count from 0 to 1, the time taken for incrementing from 0 to 1 is the time period of this signal. Okay, so for frequency, an oscillator frequency of 1 megahertz, the time period will be 1 divided by frequency, which is equal to 1 microseconds. Okay, so the total delay that you can generate, the maximum delay that you can generate using this 16-bit timer, small t or the time period of the clock frequency multiplied by maximum count, that is 2 raised to n. So that is equal to 65,536 microseconds, or you can say that is equal to 65.54 milliseconds as an approximate value. Okay, so if I'm using an AVR microcontroller which is being supplied with a oscillator frequency of 1 megahertz, the maximum delay that I can generate from that particular AVR microcontroller, which is configured to operate in a 16-bit timer mode, is 65.54 milliseconds. Is it clear? have a quick response because this is the
Yeah,
most
sir.
important part.
Yeah,
Okay.
got it, sir. Got it, sir. There is no
Okay.
doubt. Got it,
Okay,
sir.
fine. Okay, thank you. So let's look to the next one. Generate a delay of 1 second approximate if a 4 megahertz crystal oscillator is connected to the microcontroller. Okay, so in this case, if I'm going to use this 16-bit microcontroller, you can see that maximum delay is 65.54 milliseconds. Okay, so we need to, if I need to generate some another frequency values like 1 second or 2 seconds, I cannot use this frequency directly. Okay, so that in that case it comes to the role of the prescaler comes into picture. Okay, so the second question was, I'm using a frequency of 4 megahertz and I need to create a delay that is approximately equal to 1.0, not 1.05, sorry, that's the answer, is equal to 1 second. Okay, so how I can do it? So what I can do is that I can find the maximum delay that here I am assuming that the timer is starting from 0. Okay, so using this 4 megahertz, the time period is equal to 1 by 4 megahertz, which is equal to 0.25 microseconds. Okay, so if I'm using this clock frequency directly, the maximum delay is going beyond 1 second. Okay, I cannot generate a correct 1 second from that. So I need to reduce this particular frequency. So in this case, I'm going to apply some prescaler. That is, I'm going to divide this initial frequency by 64 times. Okay, so I'm going to use the new oscillator frequency as f divided by prescaler. Okay, that is equal to 4 megahertz divided by 64 times. I can use any value, but this is a value which I will be getting approximate a delay of approximate 1 second. Okay, so 1 by 4 megahertz divided by 64, which is equal to 1 by 16 megahertz. Okay, therefore the time delay is t is equal to 16 microseconds. Okay, so this is a time period that takes time delay that that has been taken by the controller for incrementing one step. So there are total of 65,536 steps. So if I multiply, the delay that I'm going to get is, you can do it in parallel. So the delay, maximum delay that I will be getting is, delay is equal to t dash into 65,536, which is equal to 16 microseconds multiplied by 65536, which is equal to 1.05 seconds approximately. So here I am able to generate a required delay of 1 second approximately, where I have started the timer to count from 0. Okay, but the difference is that I have reduced the clock frequency. Okay, is it clear?
Okay, sir. Okay, clear, sir. Got it.
Okay, so the first example which we discussed was to calculate the maximum delay. The second example which we discussed right now is where the delay is an approximate. Now the third example which is been given is, using the same 4 megahertz crystal, I need to generate the accurate delay of 1 second. Okay, so what is the procedure for that? So we know that this prescaled value is the best one. So the time delay for one increment is 16 microseconds. We know this particular value. Okay, so the delay required is, accurate delay is equal to 1 second. So we know the general procedure, that is delay is equal to t dash into the maximum count value. Okay, the counting values in the register. So this is what we need to count. That is how much, what is the maximum count to which your counter register should count. Okay, so this can be marked as x. So we will be getting x is equal to t divided by t dash, which is equal to 1 second divided by 16 microseconds. Okay, so we will be getting the value as 62,500. Okay, Now, what we have to do is that the maximum value is 65,536. Okay. So from that, you need to reduce the 62,500. So you will be getting a value 3036. Okay. That means if you are starting the timer counter register from 3036 instead of 0, if you are starting the timer from 3036, after 62,500 ticks of the clock pulse, your timer overflow flag will be set. Okay, and that 62,500 is the number of ticks required to generate 1 second delay exactly. Okay, that is why we generally say that the timer overflow flag of the AVR microcontroller will be set as 1 either on overflow from the maximum value to 0 by starting from 0 or from a predefined value. So in this case, if I need to generate the exact delay, it is proved that instead of starting from 0, the timer counter should be initialized with the value 3036. Okay, and then only the timer should be turned on. Okay, now for this 3036, you need to find the corresponding hexadecimal value, and the value will be 0B DC. Okay, so this lower 8 bits can be stored to TCNT1L, and this upper 8 bits can be stored to TCNT1H. That is lower 8-bit register and the upper 8-bit register. Or else you can directly write TCNT is equal to 0xB 0x0B DC. That is a 16-bit value. Okay. So that's the answer for the 3 questions. I hope that it's clear how you're calculating the maximum delay, approximate, and the accurate delay. Okay. If this is clear, we may move forward with the program.
Yeah, sir. It is clear.
Okay.
Got it, sir. Got it, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So now let's move on to the exercise. Here we need to blink, or you need to turn on a buzzer or an LED that is interface. The same example which we took yesterday, but there are 2 different conditions. One is, first of all, you need to turn off and on this particular buzzer at an interval of 2 seconds. The second one is at an interval of 1 second. Okay, so we will be doing this experiment in 2 different methods. Okay, the 2-second delay will be implemented in the manner which we have discussed right now. The 1 second in a slightly modified manner. Okay, so let's start the example. So first of all, as we told here, since we are concentrating on the hardware on which you are going to work, so I have an robot. So let me turn on the video so that you can see the robot. Okay, hope that you can see my video. Okay, so here I have an robot with me. So this is the 2-wheel robot that is supplied by Next Robotics, okay, which is an initiative of IIT Mumbai. Okay, so here they are using the Atmega 2560 board, and they are having 2 motors on this. So here there is an inbuilt buzzer. Okay, we have an inbuilt buzzer at this particular point. It may not be clear. Tomorrow we will be seeing it in the working condition, or else I am having an LED. Okay, so what we'll be doing is that we will be writing the program such that we'll be able to turn on the buzzer on this robot for 2 seconds, then we can turn it off. Similarly, just 1 minute. We can turn on the buzzer for 2 seconds and turn it off. Okay, so on that particular robotic kit which I have the crystal oscillator of 14.7456 megahertz. Okay, so I have written the oscillator frequency in hertz, that is 14.745600. Okay, and the AVR header file has been included. Then going to the functions, as we did for yesterday, we know that on that particular robot we have the buzzer connected to the 3rd bit of the port 0. Okay, so I need to make that particular bit alone as 1. So I'm using the OR operator, bitwise OR operator, and I am performing bitwise OR operation with the initial value of DDRC with the required bit as 1. Okay, so initially the DDRC will be equal to 0. Then if I'm ORing with 0x08, then the bit 3 alone will be made as 1. Okay, then I'm clearing that particular bit by performing bitwise AND operation. So when we perform the bitwise AND operation, the corresponding bit which has to be made 0 alone is kept 0 and remaining values are kept 1. Okay, so in this you can see it may be made more a little bit clear. Okay, so we have the values like this. There are 8 bit values. Okay, the first operation I need to make this bit alone 1. So I am performing bitwise OR operation with a value which is only 1 at bit position 3. Okay, so the value is 0, 8. Okay, the second condition was I was having the initial value for the port registers at S0. I need to make this position as 0. All the remaining position can be left unchanged. So I'm keeping this as 0. All other values are made 1. Okay, and I am performing a logical or bitwise AND operation, so that if I find the result, I'll be having this 0 and all other values again in the previous state. Okay, so if you look to the result is same as the previous. Okay, this value and this value is the same, but you can say that here there is basically if you look, these are the previous values. Okay, so since it is initially 0, you are not getting any change, but if it is 1, you can see that particular 1 is written. Okay, so we are performing that bitwise operations here. Then to turn on the buzzer, I need to write 1 to the port C. Okay, so I've given it in the direct method. Then moving on to the further, I need to turn off the buzzer. So I'm writing port C equal to 0x00. Okay, now I have the delay loop. Okay, so in delay loop, I'm going to use the timer. So if you look to the main program, you can see first of all, I'm initializing the port to which the buzzer has been connected. Then inside an infinite for loop, an infinite while loop, I am turning on the buzzer. Then I'm calling a timer delay, which gives you a delay of 2 seconds. After that, I'm calling the function buzzer off, which turns off the buzzer. And again, I'm calling the function timer delay for 2 seconds. Okay, so this timer delay is implemented by using the timer modules. Okay, so initially I am loading the initial count value for delay of 2 seconds. I need to load the value 808F to the timer counter register initially. Okay, so here you can see I have used a prescaler of 1024. Okay, so 1024 means you can see the examples. See, basic 1024, I need to load the value CS12 is 1 and CS10 equal to 1. Okay, so these are the lower 4 bits of the TCCR register. Okay, so we have 1, 0, 1, all other values are 0. Okay, so if I look, this is equal to 5. Okay, that is why when I am writing the value to TCCR 1B, 1A is always 0, since we are not bothered about the waveform generation or the comparator output. We are only bothered about the clock signal generation. Okay, so TCCR 1B equal to 0.5, and the initial value that I need to load to the counter register is 0x808F. Okay, you can work out this and see whether it is correct or not. Okay, there may be minor variations, because when we are dividing, you will be getting a value 6.9444 something. So if you are only taking 2-bit 6494 in the further calculations, you will be getting the variations. Okay, but using the calculator, if you are providing that entire expanding number together, then you will be getting the values equal to 8F80. Okay, that is higher and lower. Then I am starting the timer. So this making TCCR 1B equal to 0x05 starts the timer of your AVR module. Then I am waiting for TOV1 to get set. Okay, that is, I will be ANDing the TIFR register, that is a timer interrupt flag register of timer module 1 with a value 0x01. So initially, when the timer or overflow flag is not set, you will be getting a value. This will, TIFR will be equal to 0 initially. So 0 bitwise and with 0x01 will be equal to 0. So whenever this condition is true, due to the presence of this semicolon, your program will not be going to the next step. It will be waiting here. Okay, it will be waiting for the condition to become false. So on each of the clock tick, the value will be incremented, and once that overflow from the maximum to 0 occurs, your TIFR1 will be equal to 1. That is, TOV1 flag will be equal to 1. So that value of the register bitwise and operated with 0x01 will not be equal to 0. It will be inversely, it will be equal to 1. That is, the condition is going to the while loop condition is going to false state, and it will be exiting from this while loop, and immediately it will be stopping the timer and it will be clearing the time overflow file. So from the main program, when the buzzer is on and when you're calling the timer, it will be, the execution will be coming to this particular program and it will be executing all these steps, and once the timer is stopped, it will be coming back to the main program and will be executing the function for buzzer off. Okay, so you can do this particular program. You can just try this on the Tinkercad. So I have already tried this particular example on the Tinkercad. Just 1 minute, let me open the program. Okay, so the program which I explained to you, I already typed it in the notepad. So coming back to the Tinkercad, I can paste it here. Okay, and if I start simulating, okay, so here you can see the LED is turned on. Okay, the reason for this is this indicates that your program is working. If there are any errors in this program, for example, if I'm making a small error like buzzer, this is equal to some wrong value XZ, and if I start simulation, you can see there is an error. Okay, so it indicates that before 24, so this is the first line, so before this 24th line there is some error. Okay, so you can use the simulator, Tinkercad simulator, to verify whether the program is correct, but you won't be able to simulate the working of that particular logic in the real-time manner. Okay, so the simulator for this Tinkercad is not perfectly matching the real-time applications. Okay, that is why we are not able to see the exact output of blinking the LED at 2 seconds. Okay, so this is why we will be moving on to the demonstration of working of this experiment by using the robot. Okay, so today I don't have that system to show how we are doing that by using the AVR Studio and the burning process. So tomorrow I will be I have arranged that, but due to the network issue, I'm not able to connect to the network, that system. Okay, so tomorrow I'll be showing that. Okay, but today I can just have a small, sorry, even it is not LED. Okay, so that's for this, for the first case of 2 seconds. Now for the second case, the similar program is been executed for 1 second, but there is a small difference here. Okay, so what is the difference is that we are not going to start the timer counter from the non-zero value which we had done previously. Instead, you can start from 0 itself. Okay, so if you calculate the number of counts required, or the number of increments required in the timer counter register as per the discussions previously, that is delay equal to t dash into x, which we had done recently. So for corresponding to 1 seconds with a crystal frequency of 14.756 megahertz, by applying a prescaler of 1024, the total counts increment required for the timer counter is 14,409. Okay, so we will be determining that value, and we will be loading this 16-bit value to the OCR1A register. Okay, that is output capture register. So what happens is that in effect on executing, you will be loading this 14409 to the capture register, and your timer counter register will be starting from 0. So based on the clock pulse, this will be incrementing, and once the value comes to 14409, you will be getting a matching between these two values, and the corresponding flag will be set as 1. Okay, so that is happening. So that flag is mentioned as OCFR. Okay, you can see that in the, so this is the flag. If I'm using the channel A, the corresponding output capture, when there is a match between the output capture value and the timer counter register, the flag set is OCF1A, that is in the bit 1. So this will be equal to 1. So what happens? 0000 0010, that is 2. Okay, that is why in the program I have written while T. Okay, sorry, there's a small, this is example 1. Okay, example 2, while TIFR1 and 0x02. So initially, when that matching between the output capture value and the timer counter register is not occurred, the value in TIFR1 will be equal to 0. Okay, so 0 and 0x02 will be equal to 0. That is, the condition is true, and due to the presence of the semicolon, you will be waiting here. Once this condition becomes false, that is when the value in the capture register and the timer counter gets matched, TIFR1 will be equal to 0x02. So by performing this AND operation, the value will be 1. That is, the condition is going to false state. So it will be exiting from the timer, from the while loop, and it will be stopping the timer, and I need to clear that particular output capture flag. So I need to write a value 0x02 to TIFR1. Okay, so when I write this value deliberately, then correspondingly that flag will be cleared. Okay, so this is the timer delay function in that particular program. So there is no difference. The program structure is same, but the methodology of implementing the delay is being done in 2 different methods. Okay, so only difference. Is it clear about these 2 programs?
Is that clear? Actually, Arduino has some serial port. Is there any
Arduino has some
facility with
serial port.
serial port? Is there?
Yeah, we have the serial ports in Arduino.
Yeah, tomorrow, can you explain one program using serial port for transmission or receiver? And is that
actually, yeah, actually it's possible, but in robotic application, we will be rarely using the serial communication, because we have structured the content such that the discussion is on how to control the speed and direction of the wheeled robot, as well as how you can interface a sensor. So most of the sensors are following the analog nature. So we will be covering the ADC section tomorrow. ADC and the speed and
PWM is there. PWM is
yeah,
there.
yeah, PWM is there. PWM is there, because
Tomorrow,
we need
can
to.
you explain one program using PWM?
Yes, sir. Because tomorrow we actually I thought of today, but there is a small issue with the system, so that we won't be able to see the output. Okay, so tomorrow we'll be arranging that, because we'll be using the PWM to control the speed of your robot.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, so first of all, we'll be just driving the robot with full speed, and then we'll be modifying the program by applying PWM so that the speed can be controlled. So we'll be demonstrating that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So whether the topics until this is clear?
Sir, clear, sir, clear.
Okay.
Okay, now the forum is open for discussion. Those who have any doubts or any questions, you can ask the resource person. You can either unmute yourself and talk, or you can put your question in the chat window.
Whether the generation of the delay and how to configure the timer for our required delays, etc., is clear to all, because this is the most important area with respect to robotics, because most of the times we need to implement the delay in our robots using this particular methodology to meet the exact real-time requirements, even for academic projects too. Because there may be they require multiple delays, and sometimes the delay by using the predefined user-defined functions are limited, because we can only generate some one point. For example, if I use underscore delay underscore ms, which is a user-defined delay function, which we discussed yesterday, you can have 1 second, then you can have 1.1 second, etc. Okay, but if I need 1.05, it is not possible properly. And more or less, those functions are defined so early based on a common calculation of the crystals. So in order to make it effective in our real implementation, we should go for the timer module, especially with the interrupt also. Okay, I hope that no one is having doubts. So tomorrow we'll be showing the demonstration of all these two programs initially before the topic. Okay. So today, let me just take you to the basics of movements of the robot. So this is the basic movements of the robot, of a two-wheel robot. So if we have two wheels, if they are both moving in the forward direction, the boat is going forward. And if both of them are coming in the back, then you can have in the backward direction. And now here you can see it is in the left position. Okay. So this means if I have the two-wheel robot and there are two wheels here, one is moving downward, and this is in the forward direction, then your boat will be keeping on rotating. Okay, so this rotation, you can see it is to the left. So that is why we say that if we configure like this, by keeping a reference point, if you configure like this, you can have a leftward movement, and this is for the rightward. So this is a very fast movement. Okay, and there are some other movements to which is also possible, and that is for the precise control, that is soft ride. So in this case, you are not going to power up one of the motor, you are only powering this particular motor. So what happens is that in this boat, this wheel is stationary and only this wheel is going to rotate. Okay, so when this you are moving this robot, it is going to the rightward direction. Okay, so it is having a soft right. That means it is also rotating, but it won't be in a speed that is compared to the previous case. Okay, the speed of rotation in these two cases will be less. Here the speed will be high, and in this case the speed will be lesser. So where do we apply these two type of rotations is that when we need of rotation of sharp 90 degrees, we can go for this left-wise rotation, and if you have a small curve, then you can go for this soft left and soft right movements. Okay, that is in the forward directions, and this is in the opposite direction. Okay, that is why backward left and backward right is written. Okay, so these are some of the, and for this what we need in case of a DC motor is just to change the polarity. Okay, if I need to rotate the motor in the clockwise direction, if the polarity is like this, then to change into anti-clockwise direction, into just change the polarity of the DC motor. Okay, so with this we will be winding up today's session. So tomorrow we will be having the hands-on, that demonstration session of all these experiments together with PWM, ADC, etc. Okay. So if anyone is having any doubts, you may ask.
Those who have any doubt can either put in the chat or unmute yourself and ask. The attendance list has been sent in the chat window. So we'll wait for 1 more minute and then we'll conclude. Okay. With that, we come to the end of today's session. Summarizing today's session, topics such as TCCR, TIMSK, OCR, etc. were explained in a lucid manner. Following this, exercises on time delay were worked out, and a program for blinking an LED with specific delay was explained and demonstrated. Movement of a robot was also briefly explained. Thank you, sir, for this highly informative session. I also thank all the participants who attended this session. We shall resume this session tomorrow evening. Until we meet again, thank you all. Take care. Stay safe. Participants can leave.